Hong Kong is dead. I'm going to explain why on this video. Okay everyone, if you're an expat or a high net wealth individual in particular, go over to adamfire.com and see how I can help you. Now on this video, I'm going to talk about why Hong Kong is dead. What do I mean by that and why have I come to that conclusion? Now I've spent a lot of time in Hong Kong and I really like the city, but obviously it's changed a lot in the last few years. And I was watching a very interesting video 1 or 2 days ago where one of the probably wealthiest people who lived in Hong Kong has actually now left Hong Kong with his son, and the interviewer on the BBC said, well, why did you leave? And he basically said, when I came to Hong Kong 10 years ago, it was one of the freest places in the world in terms of the economy and so on, and now it feels very different to that, obviously because of what's happening with COVID and the political situation. And what's interesting is Hong Kong has always actually ranked very high when it comes to, say, the Heritage Foundation's Economic Freedom Index. Of course, it's still the case in Hong Kong that you don't need a VPN to use Facebook and YouTube and so on. But things have started to change, and I think that started when obviously the Chinese government kind of tightened the screw a few years ago. But now with the whole zero COVID situation and no kind of light at the end of the tunnel, many people are starting to think, hold on, this is different now. And I think what's going to happen is gradually in the next 25 years until the border actually opens with Shenzhen, it's going to become more and more Chinese basically. So the overall kind of trajectory is towards kind of Shenzhen and Hong Kong and Zhuhai actually being a huge megacity. So when I say Hong Kong is dead, I don't mean that in 50 years it's necessarily going to be poor, but it's more likely to be the case that gradually, even before then, it just becomes like any other place in China. And even if it's a success in 40 or 50 years, it's more likely to be a success as part of a wider kind of region, to include Zhuhai and Shenzhen and so on. And we're already seeing that kind of localization now. So what's interesting, if you look at the Hong Kong Stock Exchange, it's been very volatile in recent times, but it has received a boost from the fact that many Chinese firms that have IPO'd in the US have came to the Hong Kong stock market for obvious political reasons. So when it comes to the stock market, I don't think it's a guarantee that the Hong Kong stock market will do badly. In fact, more mainland firms could actually IPO, on the Hong Kong exchange, but that might well increase risks as well. So I don't think stock market investing in Hong Kong is dead by any means. Risks have probably gone up, but opportunities arguably have gone up as well. But where I think opportunities have not gone up is for expats living in Hong Kong and high net wealth individuals. Because if you think about it, traditionally, why did people go to Hong Kong? They thought it was more free than even Singapore, that the legal structure that had existed since '97 and the British agreement with the Chinese, they thought that was going to be here to stay. And many people open up companies there, open up bank accounts there, base themselves there. But now we have a situation where a record number of people, both Hong Kongese and expats, are leaving. And I'm sure that number will only go up, and I'm sure that number will be even higher if you just focused on people who can leave. Because you have to remember that a lot of people who are living in Hong Kong, just like the rest of the world, they can't just move. That expat who has a kid and, a family member who has a business, they can't just decide to leave overnight. So I think gradually more and more people will leave, and more people already are going to other expat destinations. I have lost count of the number of people from Hong Kong, especially expats, but also some locals who are looking to invest their money internationally. Also some business owners who are thinking about kind of moving their business HQ from Hong Kong, or at least, here's the bottom line, not putting all their eggs in one basket. Because if somebody has got most of their wealth in Hong Kong real estate or Hong Kong stocks or the Hong Kong dollar or whatever, clearly at the moment it's much more risky to do that compared to 10 years ago. It was always risky because ultimately volatility and stability aren't the same thing. A lot of people confuse them. Even 10 years ago, anyone with any kind of political acumen could work out that the Chinese government could always, move the goalposts. But right now that risk has actually came to bear. And whilst it isn't the case that the Hong Kong Stock Exchange or Hong Kong real estate or the Hong Kong dollar has performed particularly badly in recent times, obviously the risks have increased exponentially. And even things like, capital flight, people forget that in mainland China, getting money out of China is not such an easy thing. In Hong Kong, it is still easy, but how long will that last for? So I don't think Hong Kong is dead insofar as it's just going to become a poor place, but I think the Hong Kong that existed before is very much dead, or at least dying. How can I help you? In two ways. First of all, are you an expat, a high net wealth individual, or just somebody who lives in a part of the world where it's difficult to get access to quality investment solutions? In which case, go onto my website on adamfayed.com and find out more. If you don't fit into any of those categories, then in which case there's a range of free material on my website, on this YouTube channel, and indeed on my Quora, where I get over 200 or have received over 231 million views in the last few years. And finally, if you want to actually read my thoughts in more detail, go onto Amazon and find my book on there.